Episode 9 of the Consistency Podcast is here. My name is Stephen Gloucester. And to begin, I want to talk about the Kirk Minihane Show Twitter account, which was completely awful this week. There was no creativity. It was confusing. And as the week rolled on, it was completely embarrassing. It started Sunday night where they announced that there wasn't going to be a show. And then all of a sudden on Monday, we saw a show. That led to confusion. Kirk had to question those guys on the show as to why back-to-back tweets were posted that were confusing to everybody. And, you know, whenever you have to answer a boss, that's not a good look. Then on the same day, you get a very inside show joke and reference to Stevie the Rat Che, which again is very confusing. A lot of people didn't understand that tweet. And Kirk, again, had to question Coleman. Why was that tweet even posted? And to me, you could start to see, like, this was the first time that the training wheels came off. And I was hoping right there that the training wheels would have been put back on, because what they were starting to do this week on the show account, you could already see the signs of it being dreadful. And it only got worse as the week went on. You then had that copycat post where they were asking the Minifans who the funniest was, who the most creative was, who is the person you wanted to break bread with. And obviously that was a copycat from Surviving Barstool. A lot of people responded to that. I did as well. It was great to see some of the answers, but there was no imagination. There was no creativity, and that's something, again, that Kirk referenced on the show. Then you get Wednesday, the tweets about we're not sure when Kirk is going to record. There's a 3 to 5 window. You know Kirk didn't like that. Kirk is Mr. Consistency. During the week, he records right around 9:30, and that gives people the chance to put their YouTube on, have it on in the background while they're working, doing errands, they're doing things around the house. And to put a 3 to 5 window is something that, you know, Kirk didn't want to have on there, because you never know what can happen when you take the show on the road. Maybe the studio wasn't booked properly. Maybe Jeff D. Lowe had to be pulled away about something Survivor related that came up. Maybe Dave, Big Cat, or KFC pulled Kirk away about something Barstool related, which means that he couldn't record. I mean, to put a 3 to 5 window just isn't something that Kirk does, because he's Mr. Consistency when it comes to the show and when he puts it out. And anybody who wanted to listen to the show had to do so very quickly, because the trivia came up, then Surviving Barstool finale came up, and a lot of the show was a pre-show to Surviving Barstool. So a lot of the references on that show were going to be outdated the minute Surviving Barstool came on. So to have this like general 3 to 5 window, you know, it just really kind of, you know, boggled everybody's minds and left you like questioning, like, what is going on? Where's the consistency that we have with this program? And then to cap it off, the most embarrassing tweet in show history about the studio being underwater. This amateur hour TikTok type tweet was horrid, and you know that Kirk wasn't gonna be happy about that. You know he was gonna light the guys up. That, of course, is great material. When Kirk lights into a producer, it's some of the best content. I mean, we've seen it in the past with Steve and Cullinane, and we see it now with these producers. But did frickin' Frack really think that Kirk was going to compliment them, that this was going to go over well with the skip? I mean, that was awful. And to me, this was the biggest crack in the foundation for these producers. I mean, there has been mistakes over the past couple of months, things that weren't completely egregious, that merited people being fired. But this past week on Twitter really has me questioning if not just one, but both producers are going to be around going forward in 2024. And I really hope that's not the case with Coleman. I'm a Coleman guy. I've been a loyal Coleman guy since day one. I've been in his corner. I've wanted him to be the producer from the first time he appeared on the show. And Coleman is great when the red light's on, when they're recording the show. He's really good at what he does. But you have to wonder if maybe he is listening to Gussie bullshit a little bit more than he should. And you guys know how I feel about Gus. If he was let go today, there'd be no crying, no black suit wearing, no rosary beads in my hand, and his wife wouldn't get condolence flowers. The kid hasn't been a good producer at all since day one. I don't think he's good for the show. I don't think he's good for the show long term. And I feel like his lack of imagination, his lack of creativity, it's rubbing off on Coleman. And some of these things that we're seeing on Twitter is a product of Gussie bullshit. And I don't know if Coleman can stop that. And, you know, he is the lead producer, and he should be the guy taking that extra second to say, hey, should we post this? Should we bring up this topic on the show? And I don't know if that's happening. And I really hope this turns around, because Coleman has that potential to be the best producer in show history. But this past week really has me questioning that. And like I said, as much as I don't like Gus as a producer, I do like him as a man. I think he's funny. I think he's, a good person overall. I would definitely break bread with the kid. I just don't think he's a good producer. But again, I don't know if Kirk made the right decision there. And I'm concerned that we'd be looking at 2 new producers in 2024 instead of 1. So I really hope these guys turn it around going forward. Moving on to somebody who I find is consistently cringy is Will, who was on the show Sunday night. I don't know what Kirk sees in this guy. I really don't. I mean, he's not as bad as Andy Mayo. But this person, to me, seems like he's uninformed and he's not consistent in what he says. He first said that he was a huge fan of mine to start the show, that he listened to my appearances, that he enjoys me being around. But then at the end of the show, he made kind of like a Fredo reference to me. And anybody who knows that I'm Sicilian, or anybody who knows a Sicilian, knows that calling somebody Fredo puts you on the no-fly list. So I'm wondering if he even knew who I was to even know that I'm Italian when he puts out a Fredo reference. I mean, no, man, that's not good. You shouldn't be doing that. And also, you have to wonder, what does this kid bring to the show? I mean, he has this stupid Al Pacino impression that he's done 100 times. The first time was funny. The second time was amusing. But after that, he's going to retire that. I don't think he knows anything that's going on with the show. And he's not really gentleman-like. I mean, the way he's taking shots at that girl that he's dating. I mean, where's the class? I don't see this guy being Brad Pitt. I don't see 20 girls lining up to give him his phone number. I mean, but to go on and, take shots at your girl saying you might whack her and not date her anymore, I mean, that's low. You shouldn't be doing that. Not a good look. So I don't know what Kirk sees in him, but I really hope we see less of him in 2024. Now, let's move on to people who are consistently dumb, and that is anybody who competes against Kirk that gives him an advantage. We saw that in the Dozens trivia, where Carl, who's part of Chris Castellani's team, woke up a sleeping giant when he questioned the Edgerrin James answer. I mean, if you noticed, Kirk sat up on his chair, he got fired up, he took a shot right at Carl, and what happened? They came back from a 4-0 hole. They pulled off an amazing comeback. Hank getting the Halloween question right perfectly with 13 to win the match was something that had a lot of people probably jumping off their couches, cheering, jumping up and down, because it was an amazing win. And that is a win that you have to dedicate to Carl, because to me, he turned the season around. I mean, Kirk's team was dead. They were not focused. They were down 4-0. Kirk's throwing things. He's telling Jeff that he wants to use the double sip so that he can blow the match. And Carl gives that team new life by poking the bear and telling, Kirk that the answer was wrong. I mean, doesn't he do his homework? Didn't he see Brandon Walker in the past try to get under Kirk's skin? I mean, it just doesn't work. You just don't get Kirk mad. And to me, this win and that moment is the turning point of the season. And this, to me, signifies that Kirk's team is definitely on the way up again. And they're going to defend this title. And they're going to be back-to-back champions. And I think we're going to have, Carl to thank because of that. Now, to close, I want to talk about something that was consistently awesome. And that was Surviving Barstool. From episode 1 until the after show, this show gets an A+. Very well done. The people behind the scenes, the producers, Jeff D. Lowe being the host, the competitors, everything was amazing. It was a job well done. It was so awesome to see Will Compton win it. He was the best competitor. He was a guy that you really enjoyed watching. He didn't have any enemies on the show. He played the game right. And, anybody who watches Survivor will see that this is a man that deserved the money. He deserved the title. And I'm glad to see that he won. And the jury at the end in the episode 9 was amazingly funny, amazingly brilliant. The way that Dave Portnoy attacked Jerry and got him to admit that a lot of his act as a shtick was funny as hell. Rico gets the Comedian of the Year for throwing cheese at Stevie the Rat. I mean, that was just so funny. I mean, it was beautiful. It was a job well done by Rico. And what can you say about Kirk? The way he crucified Stevie the Rat will go down as one of the best speeches that Kirk has ever told. Maybe one of the best speeches told by anybody. I mean, he totally embarrassed the guy. And you just saw Stephen Chase soul leave his body when Kirk was ripping into him. And Stevie deserved everything that was said about him because he did stab Kirk in the back. And he did stab a lot of people in the back on that show. And to see him be ripped to shreds just shows how amazing of a showman that Kirk is. And I think it was the defining moment of Surviving Barstool. The show was brilliant. And I can't wait for season 4 to come out because even if Kirk and Rico and Will are not on the show, I'll definitely watch it going forward because it is the best show that Barstool puts out. So, like I said, I think Jeff D. Lowe and Portnoy and those guys get a lot of credit. It was a job well done. So that closes episode 9. I'll be working on episode 10, which I hope will come out next week. And as I said before, I still have the light on and the hope that I will be back on the Kirk Minihane Show. Hopefully to start off 2024. I'm really looking forward to my next opportunity on that show. So hopefully that will happen. So with that said, I wish you all well, and I'll talk to you soon.